to talk about. Nikita, something is wrong with that boy.
Gravesy. Gravesy. I ain't late hold this song, you know.
Maybe you think we should get the guidance counselor in on this?
Definitely.
Because this is past, this gone past, we know.
Wow. This child needs help.
He does. He really does.
You try contacting his parents?
This child really, really needs help.
None of them like me. They say I am ugly, too dark, too big, and that I smell bad. I am tired of the insults on social media. Tired of the harassment. I hate myself and I hate my school. So I am leaving. I am leaving and I am never coming back.
I wonder where that boy Trayvon is. Trayvon, where were you? I was so worried. I don't know what happened. Is something happened to you? Trayvon, where were you? What happened? Son, we gotta talk. Let's talk.
This is not how you behave in a civil society. Zero tolerance on gun violence.
No more violence now.
Zero tolerance approach to gun violence in this country.
Go to school to learn, don't go to fight.
Psychological violence is anything that affects each other emotionally, basically. Certain things that people ignore that affect a child and they don't even know is like mother and father being separated, that is affect a child too. Because I grew up like that, you know, going from household to household. That is also impact a child psychologically. What things impact a child psychologically? Bullying. This is whom I think about. I believe that parents and all elderly people, I believe that you 18 and above, you should be able to talk to a child.
Yeah, but as a mother and a single mother coming up, I found that I was more caught up providing for my son. And he was going through problems as well, and I didn't realize until I found a book where he wrote a lot of things in it. So this is something that a lot of people are experiencing, and sometimes we find out a bit too late. Talk to
Ask
somebody.
questions, talk to somebody, don't keep things bottled up inside because that is do more harm than good. You know, there's a poison. So talk it out.
This is not how you behave in a civilized society.
Cease the violence now.
Zero tolerance on gun
Everybody,
violence.
no more violence now.
Zero tolerance
We
approach
got
to gun violence in this
cease the
country.
violence now. Go to school to learn, don't go to fight. As you grow in life, you got to do things right. Help your friends.
Welcome back to this live panel discussion series on anti-violence. We just viewed the short film Psychological Violence, Alone Inside. Trevon, he had a lot to deal with. Rose?
And not only a lot to deal with, I think as we sat here and listened and watched, we recognize and we do hope that persons as we go through will start to realize there's hope. There's persons who are willing to listen. It was a film that had very few words, actually. It's one that really captured what we are seeing as well as what was going through in terms of the relationship. What he wrote, what was repeated, and then in terms of what we saw playing out. So I think, yes, as you said, it was deep, but also, too, I think we saw the relationships coming through. We saw the mother and child. We also saw the school. Teachers were also concerned. And we also saw the relationship between the teacher and the social worker, guidance counselor, also bearing fruit. So like as today, we have social workers and psychologists here, and we can also build on that further discussion. But I think Rashida is going to mention, and I suggest those persons who are watching that feelings are being countered up, there may be, you know, a way in which to recognize and for us to say, there's no, what would you add to that? Yeah.
Like Trevon, he did have hope, the conversation with his mom at the end. And I would also like to add as well, his mannerisms, because you talked about, you know, how he wrote in the book. His mannerisms as well, he looked really deflated and demotivated, sluggish, and he didn't have any energy at all. So if you have persons that you know that would have went through stuff like that, you can feel free to reach out, because awareness is what we are aiming for.
At one time you saw him saying he hates himself,
Yes.
he hates his school, and you got to the impression, well, look, this might not be turning out well, he might not be coming back.
Yes. And sometimes persons do that. But you see, he had the book, and that is also a technique that we often preach in counseling, journaling. So you get your thoughts out of your head onto a piece of paper. Personally, I don't like to write. So when I'm talking to my clients, I often tell them, you don't have to write a physical journal. You can have a video journal, a voice journal. The aim is to get it out of your head. So in that moment, maybe Trevon journaling, that could have been a breaking point. That could have been a breakthrough for him. And he then went down the road, as you saw, sluggishly walked, kicking the stone. But when he got home, his mother all frantic, but then she gave him a hug and she talked to him after. But, you know, there are also things as well that you can do. I personally believe prevention is better than cure. And talking to children before it gets to that point. Because as parents and guardians, furthermore adults, you can pick up when something is off with a child. You will see a child come home, go straight to their room. This may be a child that is talkative. This may be a child that likes to play games. But you will realize, well, Trevon going home and he ain't really writing the homework. Trevon threw all of the papers on the floor. That was a cry out for help. His essay at school, a cry for attention. So there are little signs that you can pick up on children before it gets too late. And other little things that I often like to tell my clients as well, in terms of, having little meals with them, checking with them daily, so that you can build that conversation.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with our panel in just a moment.
The Youth Support Hotline is here to provide you with the assistance that you need. It is a safe space for those who feel as though they have nowhere to turn and need assistance that may not be readily available. Our trained staff are available to provide you with any support that you may need, any time of day or night. Our lines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This support takes the form of qualified psychiatrists and other key mental health and wellness bodies here in Barbados. You don't have to suffer in silence. Any challenge that you may be facing, big or small, we are here to support you. If you or someone you know needs support and are unsure about where to turn, call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
This message is brought to you by the Youth Support Hotline, Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment. Call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
Welcome back to this live panel discussion on anti-violence. Franz Herwood Hamlin. Bajans have an adage that sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. I don't know if that's true, because you saw Trevon saying, you ugly, you real black, you need a toothbrush, and smell good, all these things. So those things psychologically impacted on him.
Yes, definitely. And I think people don't recognize the impact the cyberbullying and online harassment have on children. You may see children withdraw. We may see them it can even lead to them cutting themselves. It can lead to depression, anxiety, eating disorders. So there's several, it can be compounded. I think the key, like what Rashida was saying, is to see the warning signs. And you, as a parent, you know your child. So you know this child, you see all of a sudden this child is withdrawn. All of a sudden this child was an active child, but they're withdrawn. They're just not talking to people. Those are signs that you ask questions. As a parent, I would say you ask questions and find out what is really happening. And sometimes parents may not want to confront or may not feel comfortable, so they can reach out to a counselor, guidance counselor, social workers for help to talk, or even a friend to just get through to that child. So I believe that if people are aware, inside you as a parent, you know when something is wrong, but they probably don't know like the resources. What do I do? And I think that's key too, having a good support system and knowing the resources that can help you.
Fabian, how did you view it?
There's so much happened there. What we saw with Trevon is a typical day for many young boys across Barbados and within our school system. And I really wanted to, I really like to dissect that initial scene, because what we saw was a mixture of emotions. It could have been frustration, because we get so caught up with the emotions, we don't understand emotions. Our emotional vocabulary is extremely limited. So we can say when we look at him, he looks sad or he looks depressed. And this is what people jump to, directly into that ocean, depression. Well, it could have been just frustration. It could be rejection. It could be, he doesn't feel accepted. He doesn't feel loved. There's so many things that were happening there. But ultimately, we see a snapshot of what I consider as covert emotional, because men generally handle their issues in a very covert way. They don't talk much. They keep it inside. We are people looking for you to be very verbal and maybe express you know, in a very open way, expressive way. You know, Trayvon was very quiet. He wrote. He was very, you know, I guess more introverted, and he kept a lot to himself. I mean, yes, he reached a point where he started to write, but sometimes you don't get a lot of males getting to that point to write, and that is where the support system is extremely important. And that is why even parents, I mean, my colleagues, they made some excellent points in terms of what is expected of parents. But we also must look at the flip side of that, that there are a lot of parents who do not know how to even have a conversation with their child. And not that they don't want to, is that is how they were raised, that is the culture. They were never taught how to. And that is where parenting programs and parenting classes come into play. And it's not that it's not that we're telling you how to be a parent, is that parenting programs equip parents with the skill sets, you know, to help them as they try to communicate and as they try to parent their child in a way that they would think is positive and productive. Let's look at the mother. Clearly that mother loves her son, you know, she works hard, she wants to talk to him, but there was a void somewhere in there. And I think clearly it was that she genuinely did not know how to create the relationship with him that he needed.
You feel she was too busy fighting her own battles?
That could be a component, but I think that we generally, I guess our culture does not allow us to really talk and express ourselves, you know. It does not really allow us to connect, allow us to be empathetic. You know, we don't really connect generally the way that that is needed for persons to express themselves. And we don't really create the environment for them to feel comfortable to want to share, especially in our Bajan households. And that is the conversation that we need to have.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back just a moment.
Years when I feel lost and directionless, placed under immense pressure to decide what my future will be and what my success will look like.
These emotions aren't unique to me. Many of us suffer with these feelings. It is, however, important that we reach out, talk to someone.
Make connections. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It's one of the bravest and hardest things you'll ever have to do.
We are not alone.
We are stronger than we think.
This message is brought to you by the Youth Support Hotline, Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment. Call 539-HELP. That's 539.
Welcome back to the Anti-Violence panel discussion series, which is brought to you with the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment and CBC TV8, right here on CBC. Do you get the impression that if Trayvon had reached out or talked to someone, he looks to be like a loner? Or is this the behavior of us men?
Yeah,
you think?
Women take care of us also.
Women take care, and then you have to take care of what is being heard. I mean, Fabian was sharing as relates to the mother and doing her activity and being able to communicate, but I would like to add to that, being able to listen in that communication. And also, too, what we did not see in the film was the role of the father. Is his darkness really a reflection of daddy, whom he doesn't have a relationship with, whom he does not know? And if as a mommy, you start to enlighten that particular child of the genetics, you know, your parents, your grandparents, then you have a greater appreciation for the color of your skin. So yes, I do agree that we need to talk some more, but sometimes it may not necessarily be the parent who is available to that child. It may be somebody in the neighborhood. It may be an auntie. Some of us had really strong aunties, you know, or uncle that you can talk with and then pick up for further discussion. So yes, he would have presented that way, and I hope there are any Trayvons out there who may be experiencing and thinking we're talking about. You remember, it's just a discussion point within the film, and we hope that, you know, or any persons who feel that the color of their skin has been ridiculed because of the color of their skin, We're saying to you, yes, we're not 14 or 10 or 11 to feel that pain, but we're saying to you, as we put ourselves in your shoes, that you can and should reach out. I love the fact that the teachers picked up on what was happening in the story, and they were the ones, as trusted adults, were able to give that support as well to Trevon.
Can we agree that? Go ahead, you make your point.
I'm going to add to that, teacher. If you realize the first teacher, which I think is actually, let's say, his class teacher, what the red flag that I identified was the fact that she, to my mind, did not initially know how to even deal with that situation. You know, and that calls for I guess for teachers, you know, for that psychological first aid, you know, so that they can be able to identify whenever there's a red flag, whenever there's things, and not only just identify, but also to be in a position to have the tools in terms of how to manage or how to deal with such a situation. So that also was a highlight for me, where the teachers were.
I want to posit something to the panel. Would you agree that of all forms of violence, that psychological violence perhaps is the form of abuse that has the most serious and lasting effects on a person's mental health?
The psychological, there's so much discussion because the verbal abuse is even, I mean, it's up there too.
I think
but
all of
on
them,
all of
them. Psychological abuse pretty much spreads through all forms of abuse.
I think with psychological abuse, the wounds that it creates is not easily measured. So because it's not easily measured, people may see it as less significant, but it's very significant because those wounds are hidden deep within the individual. But then it also can cause a physical reaction because the wounds are hidden. Then we see behavioral problems in children. We see people acting out because those wounds are hidden, and then it can lead to suicide as well. So it's hidden and it's not easily measured, but the impact can be great.
I don't want to digress, but you know that in some countries now, I don't know if it's in Barbados, but in psychological violence or cruelty are even grounds now for divorce.
Okay.
Yeah, in some, especially in Africa.
And you recognize that even in terms of our Domestic Violence Act, there is recognition of all forms of violence. So it's for that child who is there and they listen, they hear, or even see parents, or it may be a visiting, but if there's any form of violence taking place, which includes then the idea of both the physical or psychological, the words that's being said or if they read, then within our country, our little Barbados or big Barbados, you're able to take it to court.
So it's punishable by law.
It is punishable. It is punishable, and as we're talking more psychological, as I said, the witness, like we sat here and witnessed what was happening to Trevon. If the psychological aspect, those feelings that he would have read on his phone, if those were being heard in that space, then that's where we, based on the act, we're able to say to the court, this is what's happening. And especially being a child, then you really don't want to expose that child to this type of behavior.
And I want to add that violence in terms of what we are seeing in the households, child abuse cases, I am telling you, there's an escalation of that over the years, but it's been underreported sometimes. And then we are seeing like the impact of these, the houses are not safe. So then we see the behavioral problems in the school. And then it's like a ripple effect because now it leads to society. Then it leads to other types of violence in society. So I believe that because we're not adequately addressing that within the family situation, it has a ripple effect and it keeps happening over and over and over. So I believe that more needs to be done within that context, within the family context, because it is definitely one of the challenges we have, not only in Barbados, but in the Caribbean.
Rashida, as a psychologist here, should counseling be provided for victims of psychological violence? Do you think an intervention from some counselor would have helped Trevon?
Of course, because you can clearly see Trevon is struggling with self-esteem issues. His self-awareness needs to be built up because he mentioned he hated himself, he hated his school, and those are very powerful words. So for him to think that those comments has gotten to him. So Trevon needed to, his self-esteem needed to be boosted so that his self-confidence could have been risen, because these issues can not only affect him now as a child, but they can follow him as he gets through to adulthood. It can impact his relationship with others. We don't know if he had any friends now, what his situation is like making friends at school. And he's probably soon to the age of having a girlfriend. So how is he gonna process that and go about building relationships with persons? So definitely psychological intervention would be needed, and it will help him.
I think we have not touched on a very critical factor, and the fact that I assume he's a teenager going through that adolescent phase, and going through that phase, this whole fighting with self in terms of trying to find identity, trying to find acceptance, leaning on friends, exploring behaviors, experimenting, all of these things are very common with that adolescent age, and that is where support is extremely important. That is where a lot of I find that there are a lot of relationships within the household break down. And when I say adolescence, let me put it in ages that people can understand. When I'm talking about ages around 13, 14, 15, 16. As a professional, you see that particular age, a lot of parent-child relationships tend to break down, and mainly because that individual, he is now moving from what you consider a child into a young adult. He's thinking differently, he's acting differently, he wants to do things differently, and oftentimes what he wants to do and how he's thinking is very different to what the parents and people around him are thinking, or the expectations that they have for that person. So there's often a clash. And when you have that clash in the household, plus a clash at school because you're now trying to find acceptance, you're now trying to be validated, you want people to tell you that you look good, you realize they start to look a particular way. And when you have all these clashes happening, this is where a lot of the psychological breakdown happens. And again, support is extremely important. And support meaning people that are around for that individual to talk to, people that can identify when something is wrong. Sometimes the way they dress, the way their sleep patterns, their diet, how they interact, how they speak, all these things, if we are aware of our surroundings, aware of the behaviors, what we consider the normal behaviors of an individual, and then see a shift, we should be able to be aware enough to say, well, look, this person needs help, this youngster may need some extra support, pull them aside, see if you can. If you can't do it, maybe you can identify somebody else to do it, because we always think that we're the ones for the job. You may be the person to identify where there's an issue, but you may not be the person to fix the issue. It may be somebody else that is closer, maybe a teacher, a friend, another relative, or even sometimes if there's a missing father. I find that in these boys, adolescent boys, their fathers are extremely important in their lives. Sometimes I found, even as I work with boys across Barbados, I'll be going to pull some fathers back from where they are and say, listen to me, your son needs you. And we really have some counsel with fathers and we introduce them back into the lives of their boys. I am telling you, we've been able to see some phenomenal changes in a lot of these young boys, So the work continues, support is critical, and we must understand the developmental stages of these boys.
Okay, thank you very much, Fabian. We are going to take a short break, but we want you, when we come back, to call us at 228-5562 to participate in this program.
The Youth Support Hotline is here to provide you with the assistance that you need. It is a safe space for those who feel as though they have nowhere to turn and need assistance that may not be readily available. Our trained staff are available to provide you with any support that you may need, any time of day or night. Our lines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This support takes the form of qualified psychiatrists and other key mental health and wellness bodies here in Barbados. You don't have to suffer in silence. Any challenge that you may be facing, big or small, we are here to support you. If you or someone you know needs support and are unsure about where to turn, call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
This message is brought to you by the Youth Support Hotline, Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment. Call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment's mentorship program, Project Protege, is once again opening the call for suitable mentors and mentees. The program aims to provide youth with positive role models and support, create a safe space where youth can find encouragement and guidance, connect youth with individuals who can help when they are facing everyday challenges. Do you know a young person between 12 and 17 who could benefit from targeted guidance? Are you a responsible, caring, and committed individual over the age of 21? Then Project Protege may be the right fit for you. Consider joining us and become a partner in the positive development of youth here in Barbados. If you or someone you know is interested in joining Project Protege as a mentor or mentee, please contact the ministry at 535-3835 or send an email to ydp@barbados.gov.bb. That's 535-3835 or email ydp@barbados.gov.bb.
Welcome back to the End Violence live panel discussion series. And remember, you can call us here at 228-5562. Do we have a call? Okay, not yet. How can we create safe spaces for victims to come forward that experience psychological violence?
We can create a safe space, and you say victims because we're dealing with a child here. And a child who has been exposed to that. So what I will definitely emphasize within the school system, remember we have our guidance counselor, we also have our school counselors, you may not, and safety officers, and it may not necessarily be the guidance counselor or the social worker, it may be the vendor that the child goes to and have such a wonderful relationship with, that they may be able to come and have a conversation, but have a trusted adult that you want to let them know what is happening. And that adult then carries on the discussion a little further, because what we're saying as children, you should be safe within the school and any environment once you're walking around in public spaces, in any space that you may find yourself, in the playground, wherever. But I also want to add to that, as we were discussing, in terms of you may have the absentee father, so there's no particular father to go to, but that absentee father is a result at times what the mother is saying to that father or her expectations as relates to the father that makes him an absentee father. And we basically have agreed, and this is your social worker, psychologist, and advocates, all advocates in terms of that would say, you know, as mothers, it's not just financial support, yeah? And when the child gets older, which we see, that child finds the daddy, and it's a whole different relationship, whole different type of bonding. So again, as you had asked about how we can create such an environment, I think everybody has a part to play at school. Person needs to feel safe at home, and even I don't know if anybody on the panel is a grandparent as yet, but grandparents are also a very good source of inspiration for that particular child. So, and then you have, even as we represent different entities, that parent or grandparent can either reach out to any of us.
I want to add to that. We at Men Empowerment Network Support, we do have a safe space for boys between the age of 12 and 18, and that program is called Safe Zone. And we try to provide an environment where these boys can come and talk and share and express themselves. Rashida here, she's actually one of our psychologists on the program, so she can tell you definitely, and she's been with us for about 6 years or so. We do create that safe space with the permission of the parents, and along with a safe space for these boys, we also engage the parents. We cannot engage these boys if they are minors without the consent and without the interaction with the parents, since the parents or guardians, they're the ones to create that environment and for these boys to talk and share and express themselves. So we have to definitely impact that by influencing the parents, getting them engaged, getting them involved, work with the boys, and some if you actually even work with schools and maybe their sporting organizations or any other aspect of their lives that we think is important for their benefit.
Okay, Fabian, what are your thoughts? We have a call on the line. Good afternoon, welcome.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, welcome. Please share your thoughts. Ma'am? Good afternoon. Well, I don't know if she's hearing us, but we are clearly hearing her, and we would like to share her perspective. Ma'am? Okay, we might be having a little difficulty there. I'm saying that if left unchecked, don't you believe that psychological violence can deprive individuals like Trevon and future Trevons of myriad opportunities for their future personal, professional, social, and economic development?
Yes, I believe that we're even seeing that now because the psychological violence, the abuse that a lot of these kids are experiencing, they get involved in crime. They react behaviorally, academically as well. Low grades. Then we have not dropping out of school, but any school with no CSCs. We see the behavioral issues. And it's being left unchecked, so we are seeing the violence in society now. So I think that it has to be a multifaceted approach. Our NGO, Fabian NGOs have a role to play, but it has to be a multifaceted. It means educators, it means social workers, it means community people. It has to be multifaceted because the issues are multiple that you're seeing in society. And if we don't do something now, we're going to have escalating crime rates and other levels of crime.
Okay, that's all your thoughts. We have our caller back on the line. Good evening. Please share your thoughts. Please don't listen to your television. Just share your thoughts with us.
Okay. Do you think that more programs are needed to help young people? And how easy is it? And how pricey is it? For me to find and get as a young person.
Thank you very much for your perspective. The young lady wants to know if it's easy for private it is in terms of trying to ascertain or get help.
Meant by easy, there are a number of NGOs who are here and open in terms of giving and offering help. There are a number of hotlines. I'm sure that persons would have seen the youth hotline that's currently offered by the ministry. And behind each call, you have a social worker professional in a point of trust and confidentiality and dignity and worth that guides what we do. So it's just a call away.
Okay, do you agree with that?
Yeah, it is. We create, I guess the government of Barbados, through a number of its social agencies, have created that space where young people can reach out and share. What needs to be done, I guess, is for them to be, the awareness for them, because oftentimes young people do not know. While we do have a lot of interventions in place, they do not know how to reach out. A lot of the information is given to parents and guardians, but I guess we probably need to do a little more work in terms of actually reaching them directly so that they'll be able to reach out whenever there's something affecting them or whenever something goes wrong.
As you share that, I remembered there's Unpack It. Unpack It that's run and organized by young people and across the Caribbean. And recently, as in literally this week, there's a whole new manual being promoted in terms of, and we know our young people are Generation Z. They're the ones who will go on your, go Google, go check and it's there. There's actually a workbook for the youth as relates to mental health, you know, and it's really just a click, call, or Google away, I would say.
And I just want to add that each community across Barbados also have youth officers.
Yes.
And that is important to note. And those youth officers, I guess once these young people can get in contact with who is the officer within their area, they can call the Ministry of Youth. And I'm telling you that these officers are highly trained, they're responsive, and they're passionate about young people, so they can feel, these young people can feel comfortable with speaking with the officers within the community. Sorry.
Okay.
No, but also I find that something that hinders the young people or persons in general from seeking help are the myths that they have about mental health.
Yes.
So a lot of times, up to last week, I had a client that told me, I only waited to come now, and this was 2 years after the incident that happened, because I did not want to be seen as mad. And you often hear this because they have this belief that if you get counseling, you're mad or something is wrong with you. So there's this stigma attached. And then they often feel like, you know, Barbados is so small. So if I see you, you may know my aunt. And how confidential is it? So then you have to reassure them that we are governed by ethics codes and, you know, we're very professional and what you say is very, very safe. So you have the issue of creating that environment for them.
15 seconds each person, quick wrap, to leave it for young people.
I just want young men to know that it is okay to reach out, it's okay to talk and share, and it's okay to be expressive. And if they do need to, definitely reach out to any organization. We have youth officers, we have enough interventions that are available to them, and the hotline is there. So please make use of all the resources available to them.
Rashida?
Yes, but what I will say is you matter and your life matters, and we are all here to help you. So building awareness is what we are here to do. Empowering you is what we are here to do. And we are all passionate about it, and we await your responses.
Francais Hamlin?
Yes, I just would like to say to anybody out there who's watching, any young person out there who's watching, know that you're not alone. We are here to support you. You're all members. Sorry, I'm told here. Yes, I just want to tell you, you are supported. We care about you. Reach out to us. There's the hotline number, and we are here to listen.
Final thought, Sharon Rose-Gittin?
I'm sending you a hug, okay? I'm sending you a hug. Let's talk it out.
This week, you were watching the third in a live 5-part panel discussion series on end violence right here on CBC TV 8. Brought to you with the compliments of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment in partnership with CBC. We reviewed a short film on psychological violence, Alone Inside. Next week, you'll be viewing another short film as we continue our End Violence panel discussion series right here on CBC TV 8 and on YouTube at the Division of Youth Affairs and on Facebook. So I'd like to thank you and our esteemed panel for joining us this week. And I'll invite you to join us again next week at 4 p.m. for another live program of End Violence. Have a great day.